So another piece of evidence we can look at to help solve a crime is footprints. Even if you're barefoot, you have a very unique footprint. But most people tend to wear shoes when they're out committing crimes. So what we're going to show you how to do is to capture a footprint, photograph a footprint, memorialize, make it permanent. Sometimes we'll pour a cast over it, whatever we need to do to capture that footprint. But if I'm committing a crime and I'm leaving, even if I'm walking very slyly like the Pink Panther and I step, you will notice that it leaves a very distinct print of my shoe. All right, and here is the bottom of my shoe. And we can look at that and we can tell who the manufacturer is of the shoe, the model number. We might even get what store it's out of. We can even go to that store and talk to the clerk there. And for looking for a timeline, we say we'd like to see all your receipts of this particular model of shoe that was bought between this and this date. And then we can kind of maybe track it back to the person who's left that footprint behind. At the very least, I can talk to that person and say, are these your shoes? They happen to be a 9.5. You happen to wear a 9.5. Why were you there at that particular time when this crime took place? Maybe they have a legitimate excuse. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's one more little piece of evidence that we gather in our whole gathering process to isolate that person as the primary suspect and kind of really focus all our attention on them. So I'm going to tell you a story about a real simple footprint that I was able to find at one of our crime scenes. And we had a school that had been vandalized and tagged by one of our local gang members, and I was on the gang task force at the time. And he wrote his particular gang name on this particular property at the school, and he left a footprint behind. And it was a fairly unique footprint. It was a Nike shoe that had little circular pattern on them. And it wasn't like the typical waffle pattern of most Nikes. And I remember I thought I knew who he was because his gang was on here and it was close to the area where he lived. So I went and talked to him that very same night. And when I got there, I found that he tagged it in red paint. He had a little bit of red paint on his fingertips, and it smelled fairly fresh. I could still smell the paint on it. I asked to see the bottom of his shoes, and he showed them to me. And then I showed him a Polaroid that I took, which a Polaroid is a picture that you can take that pops out of the bottom of the camera, and it instantly shows him right there. We didn't have cell phones back then that I could show him. And I said, look, this is the footprint. And that's funny. It matches your shoe. And you've got red paint on your fingertips. And you happen to belong in this particular gang. It was the shoe print that finally got him. Because I said, you're in this gang. You have red paint on your fingertips. And he kept saying, no, 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 no. And then when I showed him the shoe print, for some reason, when he looked at it, he said, okay, it was me. And he confessed to it. So we ended up taking him to juvenile hall for vandalism and a gang-related vandalism as well. And that is one way that I can remember of telling you guys a story about how a simple footprint solved that crime.